Members of Parliament, support staff, visitors in the public tribune, radio listeners, TV viewers, those online viewing this meeting, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I welcome you to this public meeting of Parliament. It is public meeting number 23 for today, Monday, September the 8th, 2025. The last public meeting for this parliamentary year. We have established a quorum of 15 members. Please stand for a moment of silence. Thank you. With the 15 of us present here, there could be no notices of absence, and all here well represented, so no notices of lateness either. So I ask now if there are notifications from the floor, of course, of Parliament. We do have, and we have MP Kotai. MP Kotai, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I'd like to also wish MP Waver a happy birthday today. And since MP La Cruz has put my business out there on the floor of Parliament, I'd like to wish Gigi a very big happy birthday today as well, and we'll have some fun later. Have a nice day today.
Thank you for that notification, MP Kotai. We don't have, yes, we do have MP Roseberg, who will take the floor. MP Roseberg, you have the floor for notifications.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Blessed morning to everyone present here today, all my colleagues, and blessed morning to the people of St. Martin as well. I also would like to take the opportunity to wish Shirley Lind Beudeker happy birthday as well.
Thank you, MP Roseberg, for all those wishes as expressed by members of Parliament. That is it for notifications. So we go over to the agenda point for this public meeting of Parliament. And the agenda point, the official agenda point, is the closing of Parliament of the parliamentary year 2024-2025 by the President of Parliament. Going over to that agenda point, the closing of the present parliamentary year is required in order for Parliament to open the new parliamentary year 2025-2026, which will happen tomorrow, God spare life, Tuesday, September the 9th, 2025. And this is prescribed by Article 46 of our Constitution. However, with the closure of this parliamentary year, it is an opportune time for us all to reflect on what this parliamentary year has meant for us, as well as what your outlooks are for the new parliamentary year. So it is with this in mind that I will give all faction leaders the opportunity to direct themselves to Parliament and to the people of St. Martin. You have a maximum of 10 minutes, members of Parliament, represented by your faction leaders, for you to reflect on the parliamentary year that we are closing today. The sequence in which the faction leaders will speak has been predetermined in the faction leaders meeting of August the 26th of this year. So, with that sequence in mind, it is my pleasure to give the floor to the first speaker, MP Egbert Duran of the National Alliance faction. MP Duran, you have the floor.
Good morning. Good morning, Madam Chair, to my honorable colleagues, persons in the tribune, and a special good morning to the people of St. Martin. I hope everyone is doing well today. As this parliamentary year comes to a close, the National Alliance reflects on a year of hard work, challenges, and opportunities in the chamber of diverse voices and conviction. Our faction has stayed committed to its mission to advocate for the people, hold government accountable, and present solutions that we believe can move our country forward. We remain active on many fronts, for example, in close collaboration with the Ministry of VSR as we advance reforms in the food safety through ordinance and policy amendments that are currently being worked on, ensuring stronger standards for our people and visitors. We defended the rights of the displaced vendors, tabled motions to safeguard Mullet Bay, and pushed consistency in terms of relief for GB, as we recognize relief is needed for our people. Our focus extends to education and youth. We've pressed for overdue teacher promotions, supported initiatives such as Adopt a Classroom and mentorship programs, highlight the dangers of youth addiction, and worked on equitable access for schools for late-born children. We brought attention to women's health issues, insisting that they are addressed with urgency and care. On labor, we stressed for fair policies to protect not only the wages, but also the well-being of workers, because economic growth must not come at the expense of people's health. On the economy, our faction has proudly brought forward an initiative law that proposes a tiered profit tax and incentive for the workforce investments. We also brought amendments to modernize the banking system, address frustrations, and support the local online payments. We've raised questions about the concession write-off and revenue streams as well. We have also advanced measures that touch families personally. The increase in funeral assistance was brought through a motion that is directly easing the burden of families that require assistance through the Ministry of VSR, as well as civil servants. Environmental sustainability has also had our attention. We pressed for pond protection, questioned funding for agriculture, and championed the decentralization of tourism to spread benefits across all communities. We've called attention to grievances within essential services like the fire and ambulance, urged urgency in terms of hurricane preparedness, and demanded stronger action on crime and gun violence. Looking ahead, Madam Chair, our faction will continue to fight for tax relief, youth development, labor reform, GB relief. We will keep working to eliminate the yellow tape around succession land and empowering families by making homeownership more accessible. We will also actively explore, debate, and bring forward the necessary policies and legislation on initiatives such as the 4-day work week, not only because it speaks to family life, mental health, and stronger communities, but because it's about keeping up with the modern times, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, as Parliament marks its 15th year, we must also reflect on its functioning. Our faction sincerely hopes that the Chair and the Presidium will actively support members of Parliament in holding ministers accountable, particularly when it comes to timely delivery of requested information. Madam Chair, the absence of such cooperation obstructs the proper functioning in this House and undermines our ability to properly serve the people of this great country. And of course, we could not close without honoring the late Romeo Pantoflet, a former member of Parliament of the National Alliance faction. His life of service, humility, and dedication continues to inspire us, and his legacy remains the guiding light as which we use to move forward. To the people of St. Martin, we say thank you for the trust and the resilience. To our colleagues in this House, we extend appreciation and collaboration that allow the people business to always come first and foremost. By the strength and the grace of God, let us enter this new parliamentary year with renewed commitment, renewed relief, renewed strength as we move this country forward. God bless the people of St. Martin. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for your words, MP Doran. On this, the closing day of the parliamentary year 24-25. As I mentioned earlier, ladies and gentlemen, we are having the faction leaders present their statement on the closing of the parliamentary year. We do so based on a predetermined sequence of faction leaders, and I say this, members, just in case anyone joined us late, that they would know what is taking place here this morning in Parliament. So with that brief elucidation once again, I now give the floor to the next faction leader up to speak and give his remarks on this closing day of Parliament, the MP of the PFP, MP Rayon Peterson. MP Peterson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A good morning to yourself, to the griffier and secretariat, to my honorable colleagues, and a good morning to the people of St. Martin. Madam Chair, we've reached the end of another parliamentary year and approached the start of a new one. As we close this parliamentary year, I want to speak not just about what has been debated here on this floor of Parliament, but about the larger question of accountability, honesty, and the direction in which we are headed as a country. A moment of self-reflection, if you may. Through you, Honorable Chair Lady, something that my faction colleague, MP De Wever, proposed to us on this very floor. Too often, this House has been filled with noise rather than substance, with posturing rather than principle. And while that may satisfy the headlines in social media, it does nothing for the people who have sent us here to serve. Rhetoric and emotional hijacking have become the order of the day, and the people's concerns have become a playbook for political propaganda. Let me be frank, Madam Chair, and then I look to some of my colleagues. Time and time again, we present ourselves as champions of accountability. We call for transparency, we cry for justice, and we shout about corruption. But yet, when the mirror is turned towards our own conduct over the last couple of years, that same energy disappears. We demand responsibility from others, but refuse to take it for ourselves, as if it will just fade away as time passes by. But that is not leadership, Madam Chair. That is hypocrisy and, foremost, a lack of actual accountability. When I listen to those who speak up, and I read the reactions on social media, Madam Chair, I can say that the people are beginning to notice. They see through the empty emotions, the selective outrage, and exaggerations designed to distract the people from our own shortcomings. You cannot lie your way into integrity, and you cannot deceive your way into accountability. I will say it plainly, leadership requires honesty. Honesty not only when the truth is uncomfortable, but also when it exposes our own flaws, even at times where it might even cost us politically. If you cannot face that, then you might be unfit to lead. But Madam Chair, Lady, through you, I will not only place the blame on this honorable floor of Parliament. We must also turn to our people, the people of St. Martin, because leadership is a reflection of society. And here is the truth. No matter how much some may wish it otherwise, citizens themselves also bear a great responsibility. A responsibility to question those who you have chosen to represent you, to think critically when they speak, and to stop rewarding misrepresentation with your trust. Too many are quick to believe that the loudest voice in the room, instead of the most honest one, is the one that's right. Too many prefer comforting lies over uncomfortable truths. Too many would rally behind a nonsensical motion simply because it might read well. And too many want change without the self-reflection and personal sacrifice. In light of this, Madam Chair, I saw a quote by neuroscientist and author Apijit Naskar that I wanted to share with the people of St. Martin, and it goes like this. In a society where the majority choose charisma over character, democracy does more harm than good to the actual progress of said society. Corruption does not thrive only because politicians are corrupt. It thrives because society tolerates it, excuses it, and sometimes even participates in it. When favors are exchanged for silence, when shortcuts are chosen over fairness, and when dishonesty is ignored because it benefits us, that is where corruption comes in. If we want to see accountability in Parliament, we must also see accountability in our daily lives. Democracy is not a spectator sport. It requires citizens who are willing to demand the truth, even when it hurts, and to live by it by themselves. This country will not move forward, Madam Chair, if it's going to be chained to denial. Real reform will not come from AI-driven speeches and paid propaganda, and it definitely won't come from empty promises. It will come when both leaders and citizens embrace responsibility together. That means, Madam Chair, stronger institutions that cannot be bent to serve personal interests, stronger supervisory boards that see no political colors. It means that transparency does not end at the doors of this floor. And it means a culture where telling the truth is valued more than protecting pride. The truth is, Madam Chair, our people say they want change, but many are not prepared for what true change demands. Real change is disruptive. It challenges habits, it dismantles comfort zones, and it exposes hypocrisy. And that is why it is so often resisted. But without it, we will remain stuck in the same cycle of lies, excuses, and mistrust. As a member who has sat in opposition and in coalition, I say again to all my colleagues, the hypocrisy is clear and the lies will have consequences. The people can no longer be fooled. And to the public, I say to you, Madam Chair, do not let yourselves be manipulated. Do not accept empty promises. Do not ignore the truth simply because it makes you uncomfortable. Real progress requires that all of us, leaders and citizens alike, accept the responsibility for our role in shaping this nation. If you choose lies, you will live in lies. If you choose accountability, then it might become the standard. Madam Chair, as I close off, I look at my colleagues, and I look at our colleagues in the Council of Ministers as well, and I wish to remind them, history does not remember excuses. It remembers results. It remembers whether leaders told them the truth or hid from it. It remembers whether citizens demanded integrity or settled for corruption. I leave the people of St. Martin with these words. The truth will set you free, but first it will make you miserable. Let us not fear the misery of truth. Let us embrace it, endure it, and rise stronger because of it. Let us choose said truth and accountability, and let us finally choose the future that our people deserve. In closing, Madam Chair, I wish the people of St. Martin strength, and I welcome my colleagues in joining me in lifting up the standards of this honorable hall for the next parliamentary year to come. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity.
Thank you, MP Peterson, for your presentation during this public meeting of Parliament closing the current parliamentary year 2024-2025. We continue with those speaking on behalf of the factions here in Parliament, and I hereby give the floor to MP Lacruz, speaking on behalf of the United People's Party. MP Lacruz, you have the floor.
A blessed day once again, Madam Chair Lady Griffier, my fellow colleagues, those in the Tribune, and all those on social media listening. Madam Chair Lady, as we draw to a close this parliamentary year, I stand before you with both humility and resolve. This past year has tested our dedication, resilience, and political maturity. Yet it has also offered us numerous opportunities to advocate for the people we serve. During the year, we raised critical concerns about the mold infestation in the government administration building, which posed serious respiratory health risk to civil servants. I formally requested updates on remediation efforts, health assessments, and long-term provision strategies, even proposing temporary relocation and medical support for affected employees. When these inquiries were met with silence, the United People's Party denounced this lack of accountability, urging the Prime Minister and the government to act prompt for the safety of our public servants. In response to the CMA-CGM rerouting its operations due to Port St. Martin's inability to handle LNG-powered vessels, we reiterated the urgent need for transition in St. Martin towards liquefied natural gas to retain competitiveness or job creation and support sustainable growth. Amid external pressures and social media campaigns aimed at undermining our position, we reaffirmed commitment to our constituents during the budget debate. We made it clear that no form of intimidation will deter us. If necessary, we would table a motion of no confidence to uphold the interests of the people. In the 2025 budget debate 1 and 2, we introduced pivotal motions, one targeting the inhumane conditions at the Point Blanche prison by proposing electronic monitoring, sentence reduction, and rehabilitation measures, and another urging relief for residents and businesses grappling with the high utility bills of NVGEBE. We raised serious concerns over the government's controversial allocation of the $1.4 million for the Soul Beach Festival, urging that amidst pressing challenges like education, shortfalls, and infrastructural decay, such as spending lacking justification. We have criticized government's pattern that favor wealthy entities through bailouts and tax breaks, for example, AUC and the ENIA, while leaving vulnerable citizens behind. In December 2024, my fellow colleague MP Otley delivered a compelling address at the Inter Expo in the Netherlands, calling for equality within the kingdom and access to basic services like banking. He also spotlighted youth excellence, celebrating local bodybuilder Calvin Marrenborough's achievement and commitment to supporting young talents on the international stage. Madam Chair Lady, this parliamentary year has underscored a number of fundamental truths. Our civil servants deserve a safe and healthy work environment. More infestation cannot be dismissed. Action must follow accountability. Economic and energy transitions, especially towards sustainable options like LNG, are not luxuries, but necessities for countries. Transparency is the highest form of service. We must scrutinize every expenditure and alleviate relief over celebration when the island's welfare is at risk. Justice and equality must underpin governance, shifting resources towards those most in need, reforming institutions like the prison, and ensuring that global engagement translates into real benefits for our people. To my fellow colleagues, MPs sitting here with me today, let this moment encourage us to work across party lines. Let us build resilience, inclusive, and economical viable nation with priorities, health, opportunity, and fairness. In closing, Madam Chair Lady, I echo the spirit of early reflections. Our journey does not end here. The lessons and the passion for the year must fuel our continued pursuit for progress and political maturity in St. Martin. God first, country St. Martin second, above all. Thank you, Madam Chair Lady.
Thank you, MP La Cruz, for your presentation during this public meeting of Parliament closing the parliamentary year 2024-2025. We continue with the faction leaders presenting their report, so to speak, of the parliamentary year which we are closing today. And the next MP I invite to take the floor is the Member of Parliament representing the Unified Resilient St. Martin Movement faction, and that is MP Veronica Janssen-Webster. MP Janssen-Webster, you have the floor.
Honorable Chair Lady of Parliament, esteemed colleagues, fellow members of Parliament, good morning, and good morning to the people of St. Martin. Today, as we open a new parliamentary year, I stand here not only as the leader of the URSM faction, but also as a daughter of this soil, entrusted with the hopes, struggles, and resilience of our people. We gather at a crucial moment, one that demands bold leadership, honest reflection, and unwavering commitment to the future of our beloved nation. The past parliamentary year has tested our country from financial challenges to the ongoing struggles in energy, justice, and social stability. The people of St. Martin have looked to this parliament for answers. And I am proud to say that the URSM faction has not been silent. MP Shamira Roseberg has been a strong voice for justice, equality, and the working people of St. Martin. She has raised critical questions on law enforcement, prison reform, and workers' rights. She stood up for the dignity of our students by co-sponsoring a motion against hair discrimination in schools, ensuring that no child is judged or excluded for their natural identity. She promotes literacy. Beyond this, MP Roseberg has advanced key legislative amendments. An amendment to the Admission and Expulsion Ordinance LTU to ensure equality for St. Martiners born to foreign parents. A proposal for judicial reform, introducing a 3-judge panel system at first instance to create stronger checks and balances and align St. Martin with the Netherlands' judicial standards. She has filed important motions to recruit more legislative lawyers, expand legal access for vulnerable mental health patients, launched a national breakfast program, and address prison overcrowding. She's also working on legislation to reform prison laws and combat cyberbullying, while pioneering free community legal advice through a monthly legal help desk. MP Christopher Waver has been unwavering in his commitment to the people. One of his key priorities has been food security and regional trade, bringing a motion that calls for stronger Caribbean cooperation and a strategic vision for sustainable agriculture. He has been a leading voice on education and inclusion, co-authoring the hair discrimination motion alongside MP Roseberg, questioning school funding, and pressing for stronger teacher development and special needs support. His advocacy has extended to finance and housing, where he has fought for fairer bank fees and supported home ownership appeals for families in Belvedere Foga and South Reward. He has also highlighted the importance of culture and identity, calling for a national performing arts center to preserve heritage and showcase talent. As your 2024-2025 URSM faction leader, I have taken up causes both big and small, such as rehabilitation for prisoners, the cleanliness of our island, the importance of having an Asikuda system for our custom controls, and the strengthening of education. I have stood with mothers and parents understanding their daily struggles. I have spoken out about workplace harassment, asked ministers questions about youth mental health and tax assessments. I have proposed a specific adjustment to the fuel clause to offer the community a more reasonable bill. No issue is too small and no issue is too big for URSM. As chair of the Health Committee, we took on the vaping issue, while also fielding questions about the readiness of our island socially to handle the consequences of legalization of marijuana in our community. This new parliamentary year, I have made it a priority to advance landmark legislation that protects our most vulnerable. Having been involved in foster care for more than 11 years, I would finally like to see the foster care law amended. Also, a women's rights law will be developed to safeguard women in the workplace, strengthen protections against discrimination and violence, and advance gender equality across every sector of our society. And yes, the amendment to the laws governing responsible pet ownership, the dog law, will be finalized to secure our people walking to and from the bus stops to catch their bus to school or to work, to safeguard those who would like to walk alongside the road for exercise, and to protect the livestock of those farmers who are under attack now by roaming packs of dogs. These are not just policies, they are commitments to the dignity of our people. I will continue to fight for legislation that uplifts our families, protects women and children, and secures justice for all. Our record is clear. URSM has defended the people's interests, held government accountable, and put forward solutions rooted in fairness and progress. But our work is far from finished. The governor's address last year reminded us that good governance is not a slogan, it is a responsibility. This Parliament must demand accountability from every institution, ensure that development projects are executed transparently, and guarantee that every guilder spent serves the people, not private interest. As URSM, we will continue to insist on real investment in justice, not just buildings, but rehabilitation, and true reform of our prison system. Social protection for our families, particularly in healthcare, mental health, and support for our elderly and youth, and independent oversight of utilities and tariffs to protect households. Looking ahead, the URSM faction pledges to keep the people's needs at the center of every debate, every motion, and every vote. We will challenge, we will propose, we will collaborate, and where necessary, we will oppose, but always in the benefit of St. Martin. As we step into this new parliamentary year, let us do so with unity of purpose. Let us commit to leaving behind not just words in these chambers, but tangible progress for our people. On behalf of the URSM faction, MP Roseberg, MP Waver, and myself, I pledge that we will not waver, we will not be silent, and we will not rest until the people of St. Martin can look to this house with pride and trust. May God bless our parliament, may God bless our people, and may God continue to bless St. Martin. Thank you.
Thank you, MP Veronica Jansen-Webster, for your presentation on behalf of the Unified Resilient St. Martin Movement faction. We continue with the members of Parliament speaking on behalf of their faction in the closing meeting of the parliamentary year 2024-2025, and I invite MP Viren Kotai to take the floor on behalf of the faction of the Democratic Party. MP Kotai, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Once again, a good morning to everyone and those tuned in right now. Madam Chair, I remember last year's parliamentary's closing. Many words were spoken, and some still resonate today, while others, perhaps conveniently, have faded from memory. But what remains clear is that the past year has not only been marked by challenges, it has also been defined by the lingering consequences of neglect. Yes, we have faced persistent and pressing issues. The long-standing grievances of our fire and ambulance department personnel, the insurance and placement degree issues for our justice workers, the ongoing situation at the dump, and the increasingly critical conditions at the Point Blanche prison. We have witnessed instability in our utility company, GB. Telem continues to suffer from many years of underinvestment. Crime and justice remain central concerns, as I just mentioned. And let us not forget, these issues did not start yesterday. Many are grandfathered problems, inherited, yes, but worsened by years of poor policy, politicization, and paralysis. While there's much to say and motions brought to the floor of Parliament, let us not pretend otherwise. The majority of today's members sat in the driver's seat not too long ago. Some members speak of problems as if none of it was in their control, as if problems only began 10 months ago. That's selective amnesia, Madam Chair. The Mercelina Cabinets 1 and 2 has been in office for only 16 months, 6 under caretaker status. Yet, those who had a full term now expect us to clean up the mess within 10 months. The system was broken through coalition games. Then we heard loud complaints stating that the problems are not fixed. You cannot be both an arsonist and then the fire inspector. Governance is not theater, it's about results. In spite of these distractions, there have been moments of true cooperations in this chamber. At times, we saw party lines blurred where good ideas found support across the aisle. These moments reminded us that Parliament can rise above petty politics and work for the people. This is the direction I would like to continue to move in: cohesion. But we must be honest, we have a far way to go. As a parliament, our oversight capacity remains limited without access to proper legal and research resources. We must strengthen our committee systems and, yes, secure greater funding to fulfill our mandate meaningfully. If I may now speak directly to the people of St. Martin. This is a small island with big dreams. And while the world outside continues to reel from inflation, conflict, and instability, we must continue to push forward with an agenda for progress. Our businesses are the heart of our economy. Our young people are full of potential. Our elders carry the stories, the history, and the wisdom of who we are. It is time to stop allowing political sabotage and recycled leadership to delay our growth. Despite global tariff wars, St. Martin's duty-free status offers unique opportunities. Our small businesses, the backbone of growth, can leverage this advantage to integrate into global supply chains. With initiatives like DCALFA supporting food security and examples such as a regional Amazon warehouse, we must seize new possibilities. I urge entrepreneurs to innovate, youth to think boldly, and elders to share their wisdom as we shape St. Martin's future. Let us be guided not by short-term headlines, but by long-term hope. Not by the noise that misguides, but by the needs of the people. Because while others point fingers, we have to build. While others remember selectively, we must learn from the history. And while others seek to divide, we must move forward together. Let this next parliamentary year be one of maturity, courage, and true accountability. For we are not here to relive the mistakes of the past. We are here to correct them. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Viren Kotai, for your expressions on behalf of the Democratic Party faction in Parliament during the closing meeting of the parliamentary year 24-25. I continue to give the possibility to the faction leaders of the factions here in Parliament to give their remarks regarding the year which we are closing today. That's the year 24-25 of the Parliament, and thus I invite MP Lewis of the Nation Opportunity Wealth faction to take the floor. MP Lewis, you have the floor.
Good morning, Honorable President of Parliament, honorable members of Parliament, those in the tribune, and to the esteemed people of St. Martin. As I stand before you today, as the faction leader of the Nation Opportunity Wealth political party, at the closing of this parliamentary year, I cannot help but reflect on the journey that has brought me here today. As a first-time elected official, this experience has been nothing short of unique and humbling. Shortly after learning that I had been elected by the people of this beautiful country, I was entrusted with the responsibility of not only serving as the Minister of Justice, but also as the Acting Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, as part of the Marcelina I Council of Ministers Cabinet. In other words, I carried out 2 hats and was soon asked to bear a third. This journey became even more unique when I learned that I would no longer be part of the coalition, but instead would serve from the opposition benches as a member of Parliament. Of course, it was a surprise, but it was never a challenge. From the very beginning, I understood that the true purpose is to serve my people. And I will repeat, my people, regardless of which side of the aisle I sit on. My time as minister, though brief, is one that I will always carry with pride. I was entrusted with important portfolios, and despite the challenges, I can say with confidence that my tenure was both meaningful and impactful. On August 20th, 2024, I was officially sworn in as a Member of Parliament while still serving as the Minister of Justice and Acting Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, until November 26, 2024. I carried out all 3 roles. During that period, I not only fulfilled my ministerial duties with dedication, but also represented the people of St. Martin in this very chamber. That period was a true test of resilience and responsibility. It reminded me that leadership is not about comfort or convenience. It is about sacrifice, service, and staying true to the people who place their trust in us. When that chapter closed, my resolve became even stronger. I committed myself to continue working just as hard, if not harder, in my role as Member of Parliament. As we now prepare to enter a new parliamentary year, I bring with me the lessons, knowledge, and perspectives that those early months have provided. My approach will be broader. My vision will be extensive, and my efforts even more focused. Whether I'm part of the coalition or opposition, we all share the same duty: to put the people of St. Martin first. My pledge remains the same: to serve with integrity, to speak with honesty, and to work with determination for the betterment of our beloved St. Martin. This chamber must never be about personal gain or political games. It must always be about service. Service to the families who struggle, to the youth who dream, to the elderly who have given their lives to building this nation, and to every citizen who calls St. Martin home. As we move forward, I also urge my honorable colleagues and this Parliament to prioritize accountability and transparency. From without them, progress will never be truly felt by the people. We must rise above division and remind ourselves that our strength lies in unity of purpose, respect for democracy, and a shared vision for progress. If we do this, I believe this new parliamentary year can become one of a true difference, one that history will remember not for conflict, but for the cooperation and results. May God guide us in our work, and may St. Martin continue to rise and prosper. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Lyndon Lewis, for your statement during this closing of the parliamentary year 2024-2025. I continue to offer that opportunity to the faction leaders or those representing the factions here in Parliament, and I now give the floor to MP Franklin Myers. MP Myers, you have the floor.
Good morning, Madam Chair, and thank you very much. I request that you allow me, through your good grace, to do my address at the podium where we do the interruptions.
You may do that, MP Myers.
Thank
yes,
you.
indeed.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
As the rules of order do permit us to either speak from our seat or the podium, as is mentioned. So I consider this. That is no problem at all.
Thank you, Madam
MP
Chair.
Myers, you
I
may.
appreciate it. Madam Chair, first of all, I would like to start by echoing the sentiments of my colleagues here and wishing MP Chris Weaver a very happy birthday, and as well as Shirley Burdicker, a good friend, a lifelong friend of mine. I would like to wish them both a very happy and healthy birthday. Today I stand here before you as a representative on this floor of Parliament. 1 year ago, the 15 members of this Parliament were sworn in. A year that has been filled with challenges, but I prefer to focus on a way forward. No government has ever governed without having to deal with their share of difficulties, and we are no exception. We will never be judged on how well we handle the calm times, but how well we face the storms of life. Dr. King once said, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in times of comfort and convenience, but where he stands, or in this case, where this country stands in times of challenges and controversy. Our island has faced many problems, from hurricanes to the pandemic, to our energy crisis, to our ambulance and fire department staff and their salary issues, to the justice workers and their LBAs, to the crime on our lovely St. Martin, just to name a few. And we have faced all of these with a sense of urgency, resilience, and courage. And we will continue to do what is right by all the citizens of St. Martin. The Sewer Liga Action Movement, the SAM, the faction, my faction stands committed to doing all in our power to ensure that these issues are not only addressed, but resolved, Madam Chair. Without risk, there is no success. Every successful story that we've heard began with a person or persons willing to take risks. It seems to be a law of nature, inflexible, ineradicable, that those who do not risk do not win. Paul Jones. Comfort is the enemy of growth. Nothing grows in our comfort zone. Now, know that when you are growing, it becomes very uncomfortable. Sometimes it feels for every step forward you take 2 steps backward. But I'm here to tell you today, St. Martin and its people will be fine. I firmly believe that God chooses his strongest soldiers for his toughest battles. We can't become what we need to be by remaining who we are, in the words of Oprah Winfrey. In our hardest and most difficult days lay our greatest treasures. Whatever it is we hope to achieve as a government and a parliament, we must do it together. We must be firmly committed in the belief that the best days of St. Martin is ahead of us and not behind us. And we must work tirelessly to achieve this vision. We are now the guardians of this community. We are the ones that have been chosen to be here in this time in our history, and we must do all in our power to ensure that St. Martin and its people not only survive, but continue to thrive. Do we face challenges and problems? Yes, we do. I live and know that not everything that we face we can change, but I also know you can't change anything unless you face it. So let's face it together. So to the people of St. Martin, I know at times the problems may seem insurmountable, but we are bigger than any problem, we are stronger than any challenges, and we are more resilient than any trials. We are St. Martin. We are built different because we are strong. God bless you all. God bless this government, and God bless this sweet Sewer Liga land. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Franklin Myers, for your statement on behalf of the Sewer Liga Action Movement faction in Parliament. The members of Parliament, faction leaders, I want to thank all of you for your speeches, your commitments for the upcoming parliamentary year. The members of Parliament, as we close this parliamentary year, allow me to give you a brief reflection on our theme that we're closing off at this time as well, namely the theme of the parliamentary year 24-25. This theme, as you would recall, was the following: uncovering and supporting agriculture and sustainable agricultural practices. We had chosen as the theme. Has Parliament done anything about this theme? Oh, yes, we have. And particularly through the Central Committee and the Committee for Agriculture, Fisheries, and Animal Husbandry, we have been actively engaged with that theme. During the opening ceremony of the parliamentary year 24-25, we recognized local farmers for their contribution and collaborated on an agriculture-themed video to raise awareness and showcase sustainable farming practices. We also had a Central Committee meeting to receive an update from the Minister of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport and Telecommunication regarding agriculture on St. Martin, during which meeting we were presented with food security for St. Martin, our current state of agriculture, the fact-finding mission of the ministry, and the vision of the Ministry of Agriculture on St. Martin, as also presented in the Policy on Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries, which was published in December of 2022. On January of this year, again, we convened a Central Committee meeting, this time with the St. Martin Farmers Cooperative, to discuss the current state of agriculture, the challenges faced by local farmers, and potential areas for legislative support. Among other points, the farmers outlined persistent issues, including limited access to land, water scarcity, inadequate infrastructure, and insufficient government support. And they emphasized the need for policy reforms and investments in designated agricultural zones. We also convened a meeting of the Committee of Agriculture, Fisheries, and Animal Husbandry on April the 1st, 2025, and received a presentation by Mr. Engel on the Liga Feed Us floating farm concept. This is documented in IS 251 and IS 799 of the current parliamentary year. We continue to seek updates from the Minister of TIAT, as was done in another CAFA meeting on May 5th of this year, during which the committee was provided with initiatives that the ministry is busy with, such as the establishment of an agriculture, livestock, and fishery agency, the promotion of local agriculture and healthy eating, strengthening licensing and tax systems for agribusiness, and the relaunch of the St. Martin Fishers Committee, aimed at modernizing the fishery sector and improving stakeholder engagement. The government, too, through the Ministry of TIAT, has been following or working along with us on this theme of Parliament. For example, we know that in October and November of 2024, the Ministry of TIAT co-hosted World Food Day activities with the Ministry of VSA. In December of 2024, the Minister of TIAT announced, following a work visit to Barbados, the assistance Barbados would provide in agriculture, food security, trade, and logistics. An MOU was to be developed to formalize this partnership. And then in January of this year, the Ministry of TIAT launched the Hydroponics Train the Trainers pilot program in schools. In May of this year, a delegation from St. Martin participated in the second Dutch Caribbean Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries Alliance Conference held in Bonaire. The event brought together government representatives, farmers, fishermen, and sector stakeholders from Aruba, Bonaire, Curaçao, Saba, St. Eustatius, and St. Martin for 5 days of dialogue, knowledge sharing, and exploration of sustainable development practices in the agriculture and fisheries sectors. Also in May, the Ministries of TIAT and General Affairs, as well as the Chairperson of Parliament's Agriculture Committee, took part in sessions that laid the groundwork for MOUs on, amongst others, agriculture with the British Virgin Islands. So, esteemed colleagues, people of St. Martin, as we close the 2024-2025 parliamentary year, and prepare for tomorrow's government's annual statement to be delivered by His Excellency, the Governor of St. Martin, I wish to further reflect not only on where we stand, but also on how we can get to where we want to be. Guided by our motto, Semper Progrediens, always forward, I believe in knowing our history, learning from it, but even in utmost turbulence, keeping our eyes firmly on the horizon. So today, honorable colleagues, I chose a different approach. Too often, the closing session of Parliament is about looking back briefly and with a multitude of thoughts, promises, and expectations for the future. And while that is all part of it, our people expect more than a tally. They expect a collective vision, at least on the big items and the big challenges facing our nation, not only on the executive level, but also from these chambers. And let us be frank, the frustration voiced in this chamber reminds us why. We heard it from different members, our members, in different manners, sometimes emotional, sometimes comical. These were not just theatrics. They reflected a deeper frustration that Parliament too often feels detached from the levers of real change. It is this frustration, but also this aspiration, that will guide my remarks. Simple progredients. That demands that we reimagine our role and shape the future together. Looking back and learning from the past year, September 2024, through today, Parliament has seen progress and challenges. We opened the 2024-2025 year with one Parliament, only to see that change about a week later, based on snap elections in August of last year. We had a new government cabinet in November of last year. We all would recall the 2025 budget deliberations, the day of parliamentarism, reflecting on our democratic journey. Our strengthening of regional cooperation, which included an agreement with Sabre and St. Eustatius. The movements we made on electoral reform, not as only a theory, but as essential to restoring public trust. By the way, members of Parliament, the draft initiative referendum ordinance, which I have announced, has been submitted and is now with our Secretariat. The movement on the democratic deficit by the establishment of a committee of experts. The movement on the dispute regulation, which, as you might know, will finally find its way to the Kingdom Council of Ministers. Our interest in parliamentary organizations has opened the doors to Parliamericas and has Par-Latino working furiously on the El Caribe, Par-Latino, the parliaments of Latin America and the Caribbean. The part of El Caribe, so the Caribbean part of Par-Latino, is being worked on feverishly. These milestones prove that Parliament is not only a place of political contest, but a guardian of democracy and accountability. Too often, Parliament is seen as merely co-legislator, reacting to government proposals and coming with initiative laws. But I envision what I call a detachment of Parliament. Parliament as initiator, leader, and driver of some national conversations together. So I continue to advocate for topical committees of Parliament to deepen expertise, like a committee of health, a committee of education. Right now, most of our parliamentary committees are tied to ministries. But I would continue to advocate, and it is something that our Secretariat is working on currently, for topical committees. Our rules of order, we continue the reform of those rules incrementally based on necessity. And I can announce that we have several proposals also from our members for changes to the rules of order, which will be debated. I maintain that motions must not remain paper declarations. Parliament must move from motion to materialization, from request to result. Motions must be intentional, balanced, and most of all, realistic. My dear colleagues, I believe in structured, disciplined decision-making. For me, leadership follows a simple but powerful flow. Problem, responsibility, action, and accountability. This is not rigidity, it is clarity. It ensures every challenge has an owner, every plan has a path, and every action has accountability to the people. And I say further, this framework must be brought closer to our communities so that governance is not only coherent at the top, but responsive on the ground. So to demonstrate this proactive role, which I advocate for Parliament, I want to propose a concrete pilot, the issue of English as the language of preference. Long advocated, still under debate, recently discussed by members of Parliament. So, while this is supported by past motions, it is yet unfulfilled. So let us as Parliament take this up again, not as an abstract debate, but as a structured project with a plan and a timeline. And by the end of this new parliamentary year, at the latest, let us present a concrete proposal to enshrine this principle in our Constitution. In doing so, we will show that Parliament can indeed lead. For the past 13 years at least, electoral reform has been my mantra for stability. And while we collectively can expect the results from our collective terms of reference on electoral reform soon, I have decided to, and I was looking for the right English translation of throwing the knuppel in the hunder, and I came up with something like to put a cat among the pigeons in a hunderhok, so throwing the knuppel in a hunderhok. And it says that that could be one. What it actually symbolizes is let's stir up something. Let's do something differently. So I have finally submitted the initiative I have spoken about over and over again. Amending Article 59 of the Constitution regarding the dissolution of Parliament and drafting the ordinance regarding Article 33. Article 59 of the Constitution is so fundamental that while I have prepared the initiative to amend that article, that will be preceded by a so-called starting note, a start notizie, in which I will outline the proposal to change it, but also the argumentation, why and how. I have outlined in my start notizie some options for those changes, but I am convinced, and I have stated it over and over, that the application of Article 59 currently is not keeping in the spirit with which it was put in our Constitution. But members of Parliament, I invite you to have that discussion. Let us have that discussion on the start notizie to change Article 59 of the Constitution of St. Martin. As you know, Article 59 is a balanced, or should be balanced, with Article 33 of the Constitution. And that one, yes, I have put in a draft initiative ordinance to give fulfillment to the article in 33, which calls, by the way, for a draft ordinance, or in fact, an ordinance about the motion of no confidence that can be given to a minister or ministers. Members of Parliament, there too, I look forward to your discussion about the amplification of this motion of no confidence, the only motion that is mentioned as a motion in our Constitution. Now that I have drafted these, I can't wait for the discussion to come or to commence. How could I close off this year without mentioning of GEBE? Between, let's say, May 2024 and today, I have presented at least 6 letters to government on the matter of electricity supply to our people and water supply, by the way. I have issued press releases, and so have many of you, my colleagues, written to government, one, and spoken about the matter of GEBE and electricity supply. I have made proposals to government emphasizing the corporate structure that must always be upheld. I am convinced that the structure of government-owned companies must be drastically overhauled, starting with GEBE, and I'll explain why. The shareholder is in an impossible position, especially the shareholder of the company GEBE, because not only is the corporate structure guided by corporate law, we have an electricity ordinance. Based on that, GB has a concession. The very first year of the concession agreement, GB was told that the agreement was not being fulfilled. The first year. This, my dear colleagues, is preeminently an area for Parliament's investigation. Not to give relief tomorrow or for 6 months, or subsidize GB for the time of the relief. I believe we should leave that to the government. But I want to use the expertise from inside and outside of Parliament to come to a conclusion about the structure of electricity and water production and supply. And so I advocate and have the proposal for a GB investigative committee of Parliament with a clear scope, definition, and time. Continuing, members of Parliament, St. Martin's future cannot be shaped in isolation. We must continue to strengthen ties with our neighbors and unite in pursuit of Caribbeanization. Blocks are shifting, and we need a kind of St. Martin think tank to help us navigate these shifts. We must remain active in Caribbean and Kingdom forums, exploring opportunities for trade, culture, and unity. And in November, and I thank you, members of Parliament, for approving my participation in the 3rd International Conference on Gender Equality in Ghana. These are not personal milestones. They are St. Martin's voice in regional and global conversations. Tomorrow, when the governor presents the annual statement, I will listen not only for ambition, but for cohesion. Let that statement be anchored in the 4-year governing program, translated into concrete 2025-2026 milestones with 2026 targets clearly identified and aligned with the 2026 national budget, ensuring plans are resourced, not just promised. This is how government moves from fragmentation to coherence, and how Parliament and people can measure true progress. In this light, for cohesive forward thinking, I have recommended, and let me say and add immediately, that many of these proposals have been taken up and taken over by the government of today. A retreat for the Council of Ministers to align priorities. I have recommended a national task force for cross-ministerial issues. I have recommended a comprehensive social economic survey to ground decisions in data. I have recommended a pilot smart city project to modernize services. And given the 2025-2026 parliamentary theme, I will propose a national AI team, St. Martin, because I believe that we have the knowledge, the expertise, and the passion for AI that we can form a national AI team, St. Martin. Each proposal reflects forward thinking in unison, the opposite of fragmentation. Looking forward to the new parliamentary year, let me put that theme, which is our theme for the new parliamentary year, in the spotlight. With the theme for this year, 2025-2026, Parliament is seeking to create more awareness about the new technological frontier of AI and how this will impact the world, and more specifically St. Martin. With the rapid rise of social media and AI technologies, parliaments around the world are being challenged to adapt. Institutions that uphold democracy and the parliamentary process must now explore how they can leverage these emerging tools and innovations, not only to make information more accessible to the public, but also to strengthen, secure, and future-proof our democratic systems. This can encompass a wide range of improvements, including, but not limited to, greater public involvement, stronger security and cybersecurity measures, and enhanced parliamentary systems to improve efficiency. The exploration of this topic will allow St. Martin the opportunity to look ahead and identify the areas where AI integration is inevitable, and as such, work towards a plan for equitable and sustainable integration. The theme for this year's opening is Building Digital Trust, exploring a national AI strategy and further development of an open parliament. Additionally, Parliament will sit in a Central Committee meeting on Wednesday, September the 10th at 10 a.m. for a presentation by a St. Martin expert on the theme of this year as Parliament commences to delve further into this topic. I would also like to make it known that again this year I will be presenting the 13th Annual President of Parliament Award to a young person who is a great example to the youth and who has contributed positively to the community and country. And this will happen tomorrow during the reception to celebrate the opening of the parliamentary year 2025-2026. This young person was selected by a committee based on criteria that has been set by Parliament. And furthermore, several persons and organizations in the community who contribute and advocate for digitalization and artificial intelligence in one way or the other will be acknowledged as well based on the theme for the new parliamentary year. Members of Parliament, I have kind of rushed through our 2024-2025 report as Parliament, but I want to inform you that the annual report 24-25 of Parliament is scheduled to be released on September the 30th. And this report, of course, will give you an overview of the work done by Parliament during the past parliamentary year in detail. The report will be provided to members of Parliament in keeping with our theme in digital form only. It will also be available for the members and staff on the Parliament General team, and it also will be available soon on our website, soon thereafter on our website. Colleagues, the people of St. Martin deserve more than our reflections of the past. They deserve direction for the future. They deserve a parliament that leads transformation and a government that acts as one. This is the meaning of Semper Progrediens. So learning from our past, acting in the present, and moving forward together. Let us begin the 2025-2026 parliamentary year, which we will do tomorrow with hope, determination, and a clear sense of purpose. Colleague members of Parliament, support staff, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank all of you for your participation throughout this parliamentary year 24-25. I thank you, members of Parliament, for your participation in this final meeting of this year. I thank our entire Secretariat, each and everyone who contributes to the functioning of Parliament. Thank you for your service during the past year. I wish to recognize our Secretary General and his entire staff for their work often going beyond the call of duty to make sure that members of Parliament and the general public could get their responses and their listening ear from Parliament. I look forward to a fruitful and effective new parliamentary year, which will commence, as I said, tomorrow. And with that word of thanks to all, and my best wishes for a fruitful, successful, and united parliamentary year 2025-2026, I hereby close this meeting of Parliament and the parliamentary year 2024-2025 meeting and parliamentary year 2024-2025 hereby closed.